everybody, welcome to Money's No Object. I am your host, Dylan Howell. This is episode number 93 of our YouTube channel and podcast, and I cannot be more excited to continue working with you guys on personal finance topics that I think could be particularly useful to you in your long-term financial journey. Today, what we're going to be talking about is your why. And when I say your why, I mean the reason that you want to do any of this, the reason that you want to do any of the things that I talk about on a day-to-day basis. Why do you want to do this? Why is it important to know why that you want to do this? And specifically, in keeping with the vein of this week's topic, which is your money and marriage, I really want to dig into how understanding why your spouse wants to do something can actually help you to get on board with doing that thing. And so we're going to dig into that in today's episode. Before we get started though, if you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave any feedback in the comments as we go throughout this episode, and I'll be sure to get back to you there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and I think you guys will really like what I put out there. If you like my daily videos and my daily podcast episodes, I think that is really good supplementary material to these particular episodes. And then if you want me to begin working with you, helping you put together a financial plan that is specifically tailored to your life and your situation, then I can definitely do that. Just go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com, click on the Work with Dylan tab, and then you can choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you and in your life. And then we can begin pushing towards your long-term financial goals together. Now, look, I'm sure that many of you have thought throughout watching my episodes and listening to my podcast that, I would love to do this. I would love to get on board with this plan and do this. But something that may be holding you back is your spouse and how set in their ways your spouse is, or how set in their ways you think that your spouse is. And this can be a huge issue. It can be a huge issue when we are talking about our money, that our spouse is not on board with us and does not want to do the same things that we want to do. And when that is the case, I think the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves and the biggest thing we can do for our spouse is to sit down and ask them, well, what are your goals? What are your dreams? And why do you want to do things in a particular way? And I think it'll really open their eyes to a couple of things. I think it opens their eyes to, one, what they really want. It makes them think about what they really want. Because a lot of people can just wander through life aimlessly, not really knowing what they want, not really knowing what they're shooting at, not having anything to shoot at. What's the old saying? If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. It's that type of situation where they're not aiming at anything, they're just living. And a lot of people live life that way. And it makes them think about, what do I really want to do? What am I really trying to do over the long term? And then it'll also get them thinking about, well, why do I earn money? What do I want to do with my money? What kind of legacy do I want to leave with my money? And this is also something that a lot of people don't think about, because if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you have the majority of your life, it's going to be very difficult to adjust your mindset to a point where you can think about legacy, and you can think about leaving things behind, and you can think about doing things bigger than just whatever this week brings with your money. And so that's going to be a hard thing to overcome, but it is extremely necessary. And then the big question, the one that I want to really harp on today, is the why, right? Having people think about why they do what they do and why maybe they shouldn't do what they do. Because I think it is very telling when you just ask somebody, if you ever seen a little kid, right? Little kids are great at this, and you might need to take a page out of their book where you'll tell them to do something and they'll go, why? Or you give them a fact and they go, but why? And they'll just ask you why? Because they're trying to learn, they're trying to absorb information, and sometimes they're just trying to be ornery. But that is the case with little kids. They will ask you why a lot, and you should be asking your significant other. You should be asking your spouse why. Why do you do what you do with money, and why should I want to get on board with what you do? Why should I do what you do? Why do you think that this is the way to go? Why? Have them explain themselves, right? And then you can come to them with your why, right? And you can talk about why you want to do things in a specific way, why you believe that certain things are better than others, and not to have an argument, but just to talk, right? And understand the other person's point of view. And if you can tell your spouse why, if you can tell your significant other why you want to do things in a certain way, then in a lot of cases, it will help them to visualize where that's going to take you. It helps you to visualize what your long-term future is going to look like. And so in asking these questions, something that you might want to do, either with your spouse that won't get on board, or maybe you're about to get married and your partner doesn't really want to get on board with doing things, the financial way that you want to do them, then what you may need to do is say, okay, well, what do you want out of this life at the end of the day? What do you want to be doing 30 years from now? What do you want your life to look like 30 years from now? And maybe ask them, what do you want your money situation to look like 30 years from now? What do you want the amount of money that you have to look like 30 years from now? What do you want retirement to look like, right? And see what they have to say. And in almost any situation, what is going to get you to the point that they want to get to is following a good financial plan that involves getting out of debt, saving money, and investing for the long term. And that has been a winning formula for very, very many, and it will help to inform the reason why you want to do what you want to do. Making your why apparent to them is going to be really, really useful in your ability to get them to get on board with whatever plan you're working, maybe, hopefully, even the financial action plan. And so if you can just get that out of them and then look at them and say, okay, well, if your goal is to be a millionaire, or your goal is, to retire at 55 with, a beach house, or, do whatever, these big dreams of the future, then you're going to want to look at the most efficient ways to get there. And if you can explain to that person how the most efficient way to get to that place is this particular type of financial plan that will get you where you want to go, then they are much more likely to say, oh, okay, well, and that makes a lot of sense. And, maybe I can buy into that, and that would be something that we can work on together. People are far more willing to try when you are shooting towards things that they want to do. It makes it seem like it's in their best interest, right? If you're saying, okay, well, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do these things with your money? And then tell them, okay, the quickest way to get there is to do X, Y, Z. And the quickest way between A and B is that straight line of getting out of debt, saving money, and investing for the long term. And that will help them to get on board with you. You cannot force your spouse to get on board with you on a financial plan. And even worse, you cannot show your spouse numbers that will make them want to get on board financially, unless that is the language that they speak, okay? In most cases, a lot of people have this preconceived notion of what they do with money, of what money is of use to them, and of what plan they are going to do. A lot of it is not a plan at all, but what system they are going to go about using for their money. A lot of people, it's the paycheck comes in, the paycheck goes out. The paycheck comes in, the paycheck goes out. And obviously that is not a healthy way for you to deal with money. But for a lot of people, that is the particular case. But you're simply not going to be able to get them on board by just telling them that oh, this is the best thing to do, we should do this. Or, here's the numbers, just look at these numbers. These numbers say to do this, so we should do this. Or, whatever it may be. The way you're going to get somebody on board with you is not by arguing. It's not by, pleading your case with them. The way that they are going to be able to get on board with whatever you want to do, whether it be financial or not, this is just a tactic to use in all parts of your life. The way that you can get somebody on board is to explain to them why you want to do what you want to do, and to talk about what they want to do, and how what you want to do is going to be most effective in getting them to where they want to go. And if you can properly communicate that to your spouse, to your significant other, then you can help yourself get to that place financially that you want to get to, and help you push towards financial freedom over the long term. It is not easy, though. It is not easy to get a spouse on board with you, or to get a fiance on board with you. That is one of the big issues out there, right? The big issues are that, people will get engaged before having some of these big conversations that they should be having. And they won't have the conversation until they're engaged. And then the person that wants to get their money right when they're married will start bringing up all these things of, hey, can we work this plan? This plan will work. This, can we do this, this, this? And the other person just shuts down. They don't want to do it. They're not interested in doing that. And it can lead to, marriages not working out. It can lead to engagements being broken. And we don't want any of that. So we need to have the conversations up front. We need to talk to our significant other up front. And if you're married and you're just jumping into this place, right, where you're like, okay, we need to get our money, we need to get our money together. Well, that can be an even more difficult decision depending on how long you've been married, how long you've been doing what you've been doing. Because it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. It's hard to, get somebody who has done something a certain way that maybe they even think works. They might even think that the way that they've been doing things is an effective way to do it. And to get them to turn and do something different is going to be extremely difficult unless you can articulate to them why it is beneficial to them. And unless you can articulate to them why it is important to you, and why they should be on board, given that it is the fastest way to get to where they want to get to, not to where you want to get to where they want to get to. And if you can make a good case to them in that way, then you are far more likely to be effective in getting them on board with your cause. And then once they are, then you can start working together and doing things of the like. But it is not easy to get a spouse on board. Look, I come from a household where, money wasn't talked about a lot, but it's something I'm extremely interested in. And I'm an extremely, frugal and even tight individual in a lot of ways. My wife comes from a household where, her parents were very frugal, and they, saved, and they invested, and they've done a lot of the right things financially. But, she didn't really have this view. She'd been able to spend money on the things that she wanted to spend money on, and she'd been able to do all these things. She knew what to do with money. She knew what was right, but it was still difficult to articulate why to do certain things. And why? Because my mind, the way my mind works is what? The way my mind works is numbers. The way my mind works is evidence, right? Proof. I want to, show you how, in, a year we can be debt free, and how, 20 years from now we can have X amount in investments, and we can own this house, and we can do these things and all this type of stuff. And that's the approach that I took. And it was fairly ineffective. And it didn't, luckily, make for an ineffective communication about money, because she already knew some of the basic tenets of what we needed to do financially. But in a situation where somebody like myself is trying to articulate to somebody who is making irresponsible financial decisions, how to handle their money, and they go about it that way, telling them all the things that they need to do and all the things that are wrong with what they're doing right now, and they're going to shut down. It's not going to work. They're going to want to fight back. the most effective way I've ever seen to get my wife on board with anything, much less money things, is to make it seem beneficial to her. So that's really what I want to preach to you guys. Get your spouse and have them talk about what they want to do. Talk about, what they want to do, how they think they want their life to go, and then talk to them about why you want to do what you want to do and how it can help them get to where they want to be. And I'm just telling you, that is going to be an effective method. It's not manipulative. It is just simply putting things in a different perspective, right? It is putting things in the perspective of, instead of me coming to you and saying, I want to do this, what you've been doing is wrong, what we've been doing is wrong, bad, bad, bad. That's not the vibe you want to put off. The vibe that you want to put off is, where do we really want to be? And how can we get there? And how can we get there together? And what's the best way to get there together? And if you can have the conversation in that way, then I feel like you'll just be a lot more effective in that way. Let me just tell you this. If you cannot get your spouse on board, if you cannot get your spouse to do the things that you want to do financially and do the things that are going to be beneficial for you financially, then you may have some far deeper issues than your finances. The issues that you may have can range anywhere from just basic lack of communication with one another. There can be distrust. I mean, we talked about that yesterday, right? If you've had separate bank accounts, but now all of a sudden you want to combine those bank accounts, well, there may be some distrust on the part of one person saying, I don't want to combine finances with you because, you're going to do something that is anti what I'm about. Either way it goes, whoever's good with money, whoever's not, there's going to be some distrust there maybe that would get in the way, that would make it to where I don't want to get on a plan with you. I don't want to work with you on this thing. It's going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be hard, especially if you've been doing things separate for so long, to get your spouse on board. And it can reveal a lot about your marriage that is not financial at all. And so I want you guys to have these conversations, have the conversation of why, what do you want to do? How do you think we can best get to this place? And once you've had that conversation, if that doesn't pan out well for you and you're more persistent and you try to have honest conversations with your spouse and it's not really panning out, there may be a need for some marriage counseling in that place to where you can get on the same page, not just about your money, but about everything in your marriage and why somebody may not trust someone else. And if you've been in that place where you've just really worked separately for a long time as a couple, and then things are trying to come together, you're trying to bring things together financially, then you may find a lot of things that you don't want to find in that person's finances, and they may not want you to find those things. I mean, that's where that distrust comes in, and I think that can be a huge reason why somebody's not going to want to get on board. But even more than that, there's a lack of hope with a lot of people, and that's what we have to realize, is that a lot of people lose hope that they can get to where they want to get to. A lot of people lose this this feeling of energy and this feeling of the ability to do what they've always wanted to do. And if they lose that, it's going to be very difficult to get that person to get on a plan to do something responsible to get to a place that they want to be, especially if they don't think they can get there. Not thinking you can get somewhere is a big issue, because that's another saying, whether you say you can or say you can't, you're right. And if somebody's saying they can't do this, they can't do that because of where they are in life right now, then they're defeated. And it's hard when somebody's defeated to get them on board as well. So again, there may be some need for marriage counseling in that place to help bring you guys together. The marriage counseling is not, and I know there's this stigma of, marriage counseling is something that is only for people who are having issues or are about to get divorced or whatever it may be. No, you need to start marriage counseling when you're having issues being on the same page, when you're not communicating well with your spouse. If you're having some, real, legitimate issues in certain places, marriage counseling can help you work through those places before they get too severe and get to the point of separation, divorce, or any of those big things, which are not what we want. We don't want to create conflict and create issues, but if we are trying to get on the same page with our finances, it may reveal some of the issues. Like I've said previously, all of this that you may see from your spouse in not wanting to combine finances or not wanting to work a plan with you or not get on the same page, it all comes as a symptom of a bigger problem. It all comes from being a symptom of something that is legitimately wrong in your marriage. Somebody not wanting to get on board may not be all their fault. It may not be their fault at all. You may have given them no reason in the past to trust your ability to make good decisions now. Or you guys have not done well in your finances before, and maybe some of it was your idea, and they don't trust your ability to do it moving forward. Or some of those simple things that we talked about, the financial infidelity that's going on or something, and they just don't want you to find out. And all of these things, it's all just a symptom. If they don't get on board with you, it's just a symptom of bigger issues, and you need to get those issues ironed out before you can deal with the symptom. I mean, let's just think of this. If somebody has cancer, and you can have cancer and have very few symptoms or very little in the way of symptoms. And if you just try to fix a symptom, right? Maybe the person has a bad cough because of the type of cancer they have, or maybe they shake because of their treatment or whatever. Maybe that is the case. Well, if that's the case, we're not going to just sit around and try to solve the treatments. No, the bigger underlying issue is the fact that that person has cancer. And if you can fix the cancer, then you fix the problems. And so that's what you want to do. You want to fix the cancer in your marriage. You want to fix the communication issue or the distrust or whatever is going on between the two of you that's not allowing you to be on the same page. And that will allow you to get on the same page in one of the most uniquely intimate parts of your marriage, which is your finances. Your finances are so uniquely intimate because they are intertwined in every single thing that you do within your life. And so there is absolutely no reason why you should be in a place where you're not trying to make that place better. You're not trying to do better in that place. And I know a lot of you who are listening to this or watching this either are trying to do better in that place or are doing really well in that place. And maybe you are not. And if you are not, then all I can say to you is you need to try to get down to the bottom of it. And maybe marriage counseling is the way to help you get there. And real quick before we wrap up, I want to talk to those people who are not yet married and having these issues. Maybe somebody is not wanting to talk about their finances or not wanting to try to get on board with you beforehand to, hey, this is what we're going to do when we're married. This is what we're going to do when we start our lives together and when we do go about combining everything. Because remember, we don't combine everything until we are married, until we do say, I do. But if they're, reluctant to have those conversations, or they pull away, or they don't want to talk about those things, or they're, in a bad place and just don't want to be honest with you in those places, then take that as a very, very real red flag. But I want to tell you this, it is not a deal breaker for somebody to be in a bad financial situation. The deal breakers are, I don't want to get on board with you. And I consistently am not wanting to get on board with you. Or I will not combine my finances with yours, right? And in the same way that marriage counseling can help some of these things, premarital counseling can help some of these things. Now, the sad truth, and it's just honest, is that good premarriage counseling can also help you to figure out that this is not the person that I need to be with. This person and I do not have the congruent views that we need to have in order to have a successful marriage. And so good premarriage counseling can get you to that place as well. But hopefully what you can do is you can work through these things and talk through these things on your own. And again, start with somebody's why. Start with why that you want to do what you want to do. Ask them what they want to do and how we can get there the quickest, the most efficient way possible. And in case any of you are interested, where I kind of get the idea of, the why, and starting with the why and understanding somebody's why and your own why, is the book by Simon Sinek, Start With Why. And that's a great book. That's something that you should definitely pick up if you do not own it already, and read through that, and it'll give you a lot of good ideas as to I think it's more specifically turned towards leadership and the corporate side of things, but it can definitely be applied well into a personal relationship setting. It can definitely be applied well into a marriage for sure. So I just want to end with this. Stop making it about you. Stop making it all about what you want to do. Stop making it all about what you think is best, or what you have been watching, or what you have been listening to, or the math that you have done. Make it more about the other person. Make it about your combined dreams. Make it about their dreams. Make it about the things that they never thought were possible, that you can see clearly are possible if you are to do certain things in your life. And man, it can make all of the difference. It can make all of the difference in how you move forward in your financial life. It can make all the difference in how you move forward in your marriage, if you just take that viewpoint on a lot of different issues. So take that for what you will, but I will continue to use that in my marriage and in keeping my wife and I on the same page. And as we've talked about already this week quite a bit, is being on the same page and moving in the right direction is the key to marital success, and it is the key to your joint financial success. So hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you could, go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave any feedback in the comments down below if you haven't done so already, and I'll be sure to get back to you. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, make sure to subscribe there and leave me a review, hopefully a good review. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan. I think that'd be a really good follow for any of you who like the material that I put out every day. And if you need somebody to help you create a financial plan that would work specifically for your life circumstances, or you want me to help you and your spouse create a financial plan that would work for you, I can do that. You just have to go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com, click on the Work with Dylan tab, and sign up for the financial coaching session type that would work best for you and your situation. So tune in tomorrow as I talk about prenups and whether or not prenups are something we want to be partaking in when it comes to starting a marriage. And I think that'd be a really interesting episode for a lot of you to tune into. So thanks for tuning into this episode of Money's No Object. I am your host, Dylan Howell. God bless.